All right, so today I have a colonized jar of grain, and I am going to be doing my version of bag tech. You'll notice this is a used bag. I reuse my bags over and over and over. All I do is I just scrub them down with soap. Once we get to the fruiting stage here, we don't really need sterilization quite as, it's not nearly as important. You just need to stay clean, but not necessarily sterile. So I just have a cleaned bag with dish soap, jar. So I'm going to do my break and shake. I like to use a rolled up towel. It sort of saves on my hands, otherwise it tends to really add up over the many jars that I do. So all I do is I break it up. It's nice and loose. Give it a little tap tap, knock any grains down. Just drop it right in there. Okay. That part's done. Make sure we break up any little bits that are in here. Now this is a 0.5 micron patch for the filter on here. When you're in fruiting, you don't really need to block as much. If I was trying to grow out my grains in there, that definitely would be more of the 0.2 micron filter patch. So with the 1 quart of grain, you have a choice to make. You can do a 1-to-1 ratio, which I've done plenty. This is just my CV mix. This is Coca-Coir and vermiculite. A lot of people use gypsum. But anyway, so I got my substrate right here, and I could just go 1-to-1 on the ratio and it would colonize really quickly. But what I've noticed is when I only do a 1-to-1 ratio, I can't get really second or third flushes out of it because the moisture content is so low and it has a hard time absorbing water again if there's just not much mass to absorb that water for your second or third flush, or so on. So I like to do a 3-to-1 ratio. I can get more flushes out of it, get those bigger fruits on the subsequent flushes. So there we go. We've got it in there. 1 quart of grain, 3 quarts of substrate mix. And I just roll it down, shake the hell out of it until you get a solid mix. There's nothing left in it. Then once I'm done with that, get all the air out of it, and I roll it down and just give it a little bit of a compression. What that does is that gets rid of any of the pockets of air that are in there so that it doesn't dry out. Also, so you have good even distribution when the mycelium grows. And then I just use the back of my hand, kind of level it out a little bit, and then just kind of tamp it. I like to hold the edges and pull up while I tamp it down. Now at this point you have the option of adding a pseudo casing layer, which I often do like doing just because, again, that's going to help with the contamination rates. I literally only do about 2 handfuls of substrate over the top. Seems to be plenty, nice and sufficient. And then I do the same thing. Even it out, tamp it down by pulling up on the edges of the bag, just gently. And then at this point, if one wants to, one could use a paper towel, wipe in a downward motion all that extra off of the walls of the bag. This just cleans it up, Makes you be able to see in there just a little bit better. After that, all I do is I open the gussets in this direction, outward direction, and then I fold it over itself. This creates a little bit of a seal so that the air exchange only comes out of the filter pack. And then I just use any clip that I have. These ones are a little excessive. I could use smaller ones, I often do. And I only clip it. There you go. It's done. I don't touch it again until it fruits. The only thing I might do is once this colonizes with mycelium, I will put a rubber band across the upper section of the cake. What this will do is help prevent side pins. When you're doing bags, side pins are a real headache. So one way to mitigate that is to put a rubber band across that. I would always wait until it colonizes. The reason being is because this is going to be the cake will be a lot firmer. If I put a rubber band on here, it'll compress everything and make it really weird shaped and just very distorted. Anyway, and then I just leave it at room temperature for, you know, however long it takes. And I never touch it again. That's a set it and forget it method. This is for the very lazy person or the person who just doesn't have a whole lot of time for mycology. If this is right for you, go ahead and feel free to give it a shot.